Welcome to The Right Stuff. I am James Mansfield, and today I want to talk about 5 tips to help new writers craft better scenes. And these are just 5 simple things that you can do that will help you get a leg up on your craft, especially if you're starting out. And even if you've been writing for a while now, you might find these kind of serve as a nice reminder. So obviously there's a lot more to writing scenes than just these 5, but if you do use these 5 things as general tools, your scenes will come out reading much better. Alright, so let's get to it. Number 1, slow down big moments. When I started out as a writer, I'd slap the information on the page or the screen and then call it good. And people would kind of tell me, wait, what just happened? This felt like a big moment and it felt so hollow. And well, that's because I didn't slow down my big moments. So if you spend 2 sentences describing how your main character's best friend died in his arms and then move on after that, you're cheating your readers. Especially if that friend has spent the entire book's length by this main character, you need to spread that scene out. Spend a paragraph or 2, or maybe even an entire page, and slow the scene down. Write in all the small details, all the things that your character is going through. And like what's happening in the background, and is it interfering with your main character's ability to grieve? What is your main character even feeling? What's he thinking? What does the main character see? All these things are important and help slow down these giant moments that you want the character to feel. And by the way, use more than just one of the 5 senses. It's easy to forget that real people experience the world with more than just their eyes. Number 2, make people do stuff. So unless there's a specific reason for it, it's incredibly boring for people to just be standing there talking. And while there's this ton of exposition going on, most people twiddle their fingers, clean the gunk out of their fingernails, stroke their beards, twirl something in between their fingers or their hands. And I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it really breathes some life into a scene that may not otherwise have a whole lot going on aside from conversation, and it just adds some depth to the character's emotions. Number 3, focus on what's important. Let's take a look at a scenario, okay? Your main character has an audience with the king, maybe not audience, but rushes into the king's chamber about an invading force heading their way. And you think it'd be a great time to detail all the fine gowns and garments of his attendants. You get all the details spot on, and your descriptions are amazing. Well, that's great, but that doesn't serve your scene. You have this sense of urgency, and all of that comes to a screeching halt, so that you can tell your audience just how pretty everyone's clothes are. Now, of course, your main character could make a quick mental note of how fancy everyone looks, and you could make a quick sentence or 2 in passing, but right now, their beauty isn't what's important. It's whether or not your main character can warn the king before the invading army gets there, right? So don't bog down your scenes with unimportant or at least irrelevant information. Number 4, world building. So on the flip side of number 3, when there isn't a whole lot going on, color your world with descriptions. This immerses your readers into a world that really gives you as the author an opportunity to tell them about it. You try to fit those world building parts in naturally. So if your character just arrived in a particular city, that'd be the time where you could start talking a little bit about the city's history or its importance, but not too much. You don't want this giant exposition dump before you get back to what your character's doing there and get back to the story. And again, you want to use all of your character's available senses here. Don't just tell your readers what your world looks like. Tell them what it smells like. Tell us the sounds that they hear, the things that they can feel. And just keep in mind that this needs to strike a little bit of a balance too. Give your readers enough details that the movie in their heads can continue playing, but you don't give them too much. You have to allow your readers to fill in some of the blanks naturally for themselves. And my 5th tip for crafting better scenes is get to the point, but don't force it. So conversations between characters, otherwise known as dialogue, can be tricky, especially having the conversation come off naturally. But when you write dialogue, you as the author usually have a reason and or goal for the conversation, right? You're having them talk to get to a point to move the story along. It's got to move the story along some way. You can't just kind of have your characters talk just to talk. So when your characters are conversing, one is trying to tell the other about something. Maybe your character is trying to befriend another person or tell them a secret. Don't just have them blurt it out. Don't just have them say the exact line that they need to and then move on, unless it makes sense for your story, which it could. But let your characters step through natural conversation and reach that reason or goal when it would make the most sense to do so. Let them arrive there on their own terms. All right, so keep these 5 things in mind when you're writing, and they'll help you craft really great scenes for your readers. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and share it with the writer you know. And as always, keep writing.